harbors, waterways, industrial plants, utilities, transmission towers, and pipelines have all been part of Baker's 50 years of engineering experience. But perhaps the most challenging project of all was the 789-mile Trans-Alaska Pipeline. On February 18, 1968, oil had been discovered on the Alaskan North Slope at Prudhoe Bay. The following year, several major oil companies formed the Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, determined to build a 48-inch pipeline from the shores of the Arctic Ocean to the port of Valdez, nearly 800 miles to the south. Baker Engineers was chosen as designer and engineering consultant on this mammoth undertaking, which would become the largest privately funded construction venture in human history, requiring nearly $8 billion in capital and some 3 million hours of engineering. In January 1970, Baker mobilized field engineers and survey crews for the journey north. Among them was Bill McMullen.
Well, I think probably the most vivid personal memories that seem to stick with me are when I first started on the job. I felt like an early explorer because we knew that very few people had ever been there before. And well, actually, it was pretty wild country, and north of the Yukon River there was absolutely nothing except what Mother Nature put there in the first place. There was no infrastructure whatsoever to support a major pipeline construction job. So the first thing was to build a highway and build the airports.
Construction of 11 airports was substantially completed in 30 days, and diesel fuel, heavy equipment, and spare parts could be flown in and stockpiled. Actual highway construction began on April 29, 1974, and construction crews worked round the clock, completing the job in a record 154 days, setting the stage for the main event. Because of widely varying terrain and extreme environmental complexities, with temperatures ranging from 90 degrees above to 70 degrees below zero and winds as high as 100 miles an hour, the most sophisticated design was essential for this very special pipeline.
I think probably the big difference between this pipeline and your typical pipeline is that we had to deal with hot oil and frozen ground. Because the ground had a lot of ice in it, if it melted, it would just turn to a liquid and more or less flow away. The pipe would lose support, and that would be it. It would rupture. So finding a way to get hot oil for 800 miles through this area with a lot of frozen ground was probably the biggest challenge.
Baker met that challenge with a zigzag path for the pipeline route and a design that allowed for expansion and contraction of the pipeline resulting from temperature changes. Project engineers conducted mile-by-mile checks along the entire length of the road and pipeline corridor, verifying conformity to design and specifications.
Consideration of the environment was really a major part of the job, and that was true from beginning to end. There was a lot of consideration for the natural resources, and this included everything from the fish to the birds and the land mammals. Consideration for species of trees and vegetation, and then when it was all done, there was a lot of consideration given to rehabbing of mined-out areas and areas that were affected by construction, reseeding and replanting.
All in all, Baker engineers and technicians were on the scene for 8 years, building 30 construction camps, 20 permanent and 19 temporary bridges, 11 airports, 12 pump stations, the Trans-Alaska Highway, and the 789-mile pipeline itself. Completion of such a vast and all-encompassing project left a void within the organization which, combined with the death of Michael Baker Jr. in 1977, left the company in a vulnerable position, beset by financial losses and takeover attempts. But Baker engineers met the challenge. A corporate-wide restructuring and the formation of an employee stock ownership plan launched in 1984 sparked a dramatic turnaround. By year-end 1989, Michael Baker Corporation had posted 23 consecutive profitable quarters, and contract revenues in excess of $100 million had reached an all-time high. The Michael Baker Corporation operates 7 wholly owned subsidiaries. Baker Engineers now employs more than 1,800 people in 30 offices in 17 states. Current major projects include the $200 million reconstruction of Philadelphia's Vine Street Expressway, operation and maintenance of U.S. military installations worldwide, asbestos abatement management for the U.S. Department of Defense in 18 foreign countries, facilities planning for major metropolitan transit authorities, graphic information systems for American cities and public utilities, and project engineering for Pittsburgh's new $592 million international airport. When the new Pittsburgh International Airport opens in 1992, the complex will be large enough to contain both Atlanta's Hartsfield and Chicago's O'Hare airports within its 12,000 acres. The new airport will be twice the size of downtown Pittsburgh, and according to the FAA, by the year 2000, it'll be the nation's 8th busiest.
I'm Michael Baker's project manager for the Midfield Terminal project, and I've been involved with the project for the last 10 years since the beginning of the Midfield design studies. Well, during design, we've used all phases of Michael Baker's technical design disciplines, from geotechnical work through solid waste refuse disposal, through electrical mechanical designs, and roadways, bridges, parking, all phases of the technical disciplines involved with the Midfield project to enable the construction through our design efforts of a very modern facility that will serve Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh passengers through the next century. And I think that's a very exciting project to be a part of, and I think it's something all the Baker engineers are very proud to have been involved with.
Currently at the helm of the Michael Baker Corporation is Chief Executive Officer Richard L. Shaw.
I came to work for Baker Engineers in 1952, starting out as a clerk in the personnel department. I worked closely with Michael Baker Jr. for nearly 25 years. I'm certain that if he were here today, he'd be as proud as I am of what our company has become and what it is becoming. Our growth has been dramatic, and our financial position is the strongest it's ever been in our history. Our employee stock ownership plan now has 75% participation, and I'm proud of that. At the same time, I'm proud to say that an increasing number of public shareholders have demonstrated their faith in our company. I'm proud, too, to have clients, many of whom we've served continuously for 40 years. I'm proud of many contributions made by our company to the communities across the country where we live and work. But most of all, I'm proud of our people. Each and every member of the Baker team is a true asset of the corporation, even though, unlike other corporate assets, they walk out the door every night. But every morning, they're back on the job, making their best effort every day on every project for every client. That's how we do things here at Baker, and that's why I'm proud to be part of the Baker team.
Pride, confidence, dedication, commitment, all part of the spirit at Baker Engineers, a spirit shared by each and every member of the Baker team. Proud of yesterday's accomplishments, confident in meeting today's challenges, and eagerly awaiting the opportunities of tomorrow.